Hi everyone, this is Rayon Paper and welcome to April's currently inked video. There is already ink on my hands, which is not uninked from this month's palette, but just one that I was playing around with, which I probably should have done after this video. But oh well, if we're gonna get inky fingers, might as well have them before I even start filming. First of all, let me introduce you to the new star of my videos, a pen tray. This is a pen tray that my father made. My father likes to do some woodworking in his spare time, which he has a bit more of now that he has retired. And he had a lovely piece of walnut wood that he had left over from like a bigger project, and he made two identical pen trays for me. He said that this was just an experiment and that he's gonna make another one. But honestly, this is already so nice. I really like it. It's not like 100% like symmetrical perfection, but you know, I kind of think that adds to the charm and it works super well. I love just having this sit on my desk with my pens in there. I usually ink up like 7 or 8 pens for the month, so that fits perfectly on one tray, but I also have like the other tray that can just hold some extra pens if I want to. So that is just really cool. So now I won't have to worry about my pens rolling away. Which is great. So let's get into this month's currently inked pens. And the first one is this one, the Benu Euphoria in Milk and Honey, which was kindly gifted to me by Benu. And the ink that I have in here is the same ink that I put in this pen a little while ago when I unboxed this, and that is Diamine and Cold Pen's Bored Banana. A lovely wet writing pen with a beautiful yellow ink. This one has a fine nib, a fine Schmidt nib, and it writes very well. Then for the next pen and ink combination, we have this Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in Girasole, or Sunflower. And this one has such a wonderful Jowo nib. It is just a number 6 size Jowo nib, but this one writes so smoothly, and it's a great combination with the ink that I put in here. In general, I'm not the biggest fan of piston filling pens. I much prefer a cartridge converter for cleaning, just the ease of cleaning. And because I never really put a full fill of ink in a pen anyway, so the added ink capacity is not really a selling point for me. But I love this resin so much that I just had to get this pen. I got this in a fantastic sale on the an auction basically on Katawiki, and yeah, that's it was just a really great find. And the ink I put in here is Sailor Manyo Ukikusa, which is floating duckweed, I believe. A lovely, vibrant green that just fits really well with spring. I like how this pen has both predominantly green and orange, which is a great combination in my opinion. But then it also has some blue in there. So you have a lot of colors to match with if that's something that you enjoy. And then let's move on to my other Leonardo, which is the Furore in white salt. I've had this one for, I think, a little over a year now, and it is such a fantastic writer. This one again has an extra fine Iovo number 6 nib, and it's really lovely. And the ink I put in here is a purple gray basically, and that is Ferris Wheel Press Bayou Berry Mist, which I got the sampler pack, the charger pack, I think they call them, with like 3 ink samples. And I got that one from my sister for my birthday, which wasn't this month or anything. It was back in December. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but the lines with this pen are quite a bit finer than with the other Leonardo pen. And I think that's mostly because of the ink that I put in there. Bayou Berry Mist is a little bit drier. I have the feeling that it's a little bit drier than Sailor Manu Okiksa. But both of them write perfectly without any issues in these pens. And then let's move on to this one. There's not that much ink in there, both because I only partially filled it and because I've already been writing with this one quite a bit. And that is the TWSBI Eco in Cafe Bronze with an extra fine nib, in which I put the Diamine Inkvent ink from last year, one of the Inkvent inks called Salted Caramel. And I just love how that golden shimmer and the warm brown colors just fit perfectly with the TWSBI. I found that TWSBI's handles shimmer inks really well, even the extra fine nibs, without any problem. And the Diamine shimmer inks just also tend to be really, really well behaved. And it's a lovely ink. Fairly neutral, but still with a little bit of fun shimmer to spice up the writing. And well, let's just do the other shimmer ink as well. I have this one. And this is kind of the problem child of this month's Currently Inked. This is my Kaigelu 316 in Ocean Blue. And I don't really know. On the one hand, I love this pen. I love how it looks. I love how it feels. And it has an extremely smooth nib. But I feel like no matter what ink I put in here, it is just so wet. Like basically just too wet to write with. Probably I haven't written with this one for a couple days, so probably when I start writing, it'll be fine because, you know, the ink starts to dry a little bit. But then once the ink gets flowing again, it'll just gush out. The ink I put in there is Vinta Overcast Blue, which is a lovely, slightly teal-leaning blue with a ton of gold shimmer, which is also a bit of a problem child because I didn't know that the Vinta bottles don't seal well. So this one has evaporated for like at least 1/3 of the bottle is just gone, even though I had only used it to swatch and I'd never put it in a pen before, as far as I remember. which also means that this one has even more shimmer than it would normally have because obviously the shimmer doesn't evaporate. That's just going to sit there in the bottle. Another problem that I have with this shimmer is that it's very easy to wipe it off. Well, I mean, you won't really miss the shimmer on the page. You won't really see that there's less shimmer, but your hands are covered in gold after you like touch this, which not all shimmers do. So I don't know. I like how this ink looks and it behaves fairly well when you write with it, but it's not my favorite. So far, just for the two little lines, it did quite well. It wasn't too wet, but you can definitely see that it's almost as broad as the fine Schmidt nib, even though this is an extra fine nib. We have 3 more pens to go, and I think the first one I'm gonna do is the Tibaldi. This is my Tibaldi in the Bononia model in the Martini Olive colorway, another extra fine nib. And the ink I put in here is a recent discovery that I have been loving, and that is Ostrich Florence, a lovely, slightly olivey green color with a black sheen. And the sheen doesn't show up that much in writing, I'll be honest, especially with an extra fine nib. But the color is gorgeous. The flow is amazing. I found it on AliExpress. I'll definitely link it in the description below if I can still find it, which goes for like most of the pens and inks. If I can find them still, if I can find a good link, I'll put them down in the description so you can check them out should you want to. But this ink is just really great. And Ostrich has quite a few inks. They have a lot of chromo shading inks on there, like that you can find, for example, on AliExpress. This one is not a chromo shader, but this one is just a beautiful, beautiful green. So that was the Tibaldi Bononia Martini Olive with Ostrich Florence. 2 more pans to go, with the first one being my LAMY Studio. I have had this pen for quite a while, but hadn't inked it up yet because I didn't have a converter for it. Because apparently the red LAMY converters, I don't remember which number those are, but there's like the 27 and the 28, I believe. The red ones have like 2 little nubbins on the side that keep the converter firmly in place in, for example, LAMY Safari or All-Star, but you can't use those with this pen because it doesn't fit. So I had to get the black one, which I have now, and I have been using this pen. I like how it looks. I like that it's a little bit heavier. I like the nib. I don't love the metal grip section. That is one thing that I'm starting to realize, which is also a problem with my Schaefer. My Schaefer, is it the Schaefer 100? I'm not sure. I have the coffee Schaefer, and that one also has a metal grip section, and I don't really like that sort of, especially when my hands get warmer. It's a little slippery, but also that you can just always see your fingerprints on them, which is just kind of annoying. The ink I put in here is a lovely, very basic blue-black from Aurora, and it's probably my go-to blue-black if I just want something like dark and professional looking. This one is super well behaved and has a lovely, like, still blue quality. It's not too black, but it's also not that kind of royal blue that I don't really love. So don't know if I mentioned this just yet, but this is the Glacier colorway, which is this lovely brushed grayish blue. And it has an extra fine nib, but it doesn't really write like an extra fine. I mean, it is a LAMY nib, so it's just always going to be a little bit more on the wet writing side, but it is very smooth and a really nice nib to write with. And then the last pen and ink combination for this month is my Giants Pens Elvenwood. Elvenwood is the blank. It's a Jonathan Brooks blank, I believe. The pen model doesn't really have a name, although a tone from Giants Pens mentioned that he considered calling this the Goliath because it is a chunky pen. And the ink I put in here is Journal This Taupe with like kind of a pun spelling, which to do with all of their inks, which is something that I just really enjoy. And it's a very nice dark, almost, it's a dark brown, slightly more on the gray leaning side, but it's very dark. So it could, in writing, it could almost pass as black, but in the shading, you definitely see that there's a blue, not blue, a brown in there. This one has an extra fine bock nib that writes quite wet, but it feels really great on the paper. And while I didn't really have a color palette in mind when I was thinking about what pens and inks to go for April, I do think the pens and inks look really nice together. Let's also get the pens in here. Wait, why did I change the order? Let's see, how do I correspond them? Like, okay, so like this. There we go. So yeah, not really a dedicated color palette, but lovely inks and pens in any case. I am thinking about doing a specific like color palette inspiration for next month because that is something I really enjoy. I kind of like alternating between having like a specific, well, almost a challenge, like thinking of a specific theme or something to go with and really trying to find good pen and ink combinations to go with that. And then also just throughout the year, I'm just collecting ideas on, oh, I really want to try this ink in this pen, or I should ink up like those pens with that ink to see how they behave or how that combination works. And that is kind of what I did for this month. There's just lots of pens and inks in here where I was like, I really want to try that combination at some point. And that is just what I pulled from to create this lovely color palette. So thank you for watching. I would love to hear, as always, if you have done a specific color palette for April, if there was any pen and ink combination you really wanted to include for yourself. And I hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.